I'm here at my worm bin, and today I want to discuss the benefits of having a plastic tote versus a wooden bin with the cardboard layers, cardboard and newspaper. I just gave it a good sift. This is not quite my final sift yet. This is just the mostly decomposed materials with a lot of vermicompost in it. But I haven't gotten to the final sift yet, and I will do that next. But when you have this layer of a bin and you fill it with cardboard and newspaper, and if you discover that you really don't have as many worms as you started with, it's not because your worms have died, it's just that they have become pros at hiding out and crawling in these little divots of the cardboard. They're literally Houdinis, and they know how to dig in there. And then when you do a sift, you gotta go look for your worms. And I am most likely gonna start over, put some new cardboard in here, covered by new newspaper, but it is gonna take me a while to go through all these little layers and go and find all these worms that have just made a home within a home for themselves. So I'm gonna finish the sift of this box. I do have 2 more layers under here, so if they escape, they just escape to the second layer of my bin, and it's also ready to be composted. But in any event, I'm gonna finish the sift, and then I am once again gonna show how to start over with a new layer of the bin. I'll see you in a bit. I've gotten to the point where I've sifted all the material, and now I quite literally will go through all these layers to look for straggler worms. I have a feeling there'll be quite a few of them. I like my mortar bins, because here I put the cardboard I went through. Here's the material that I sifted that I will sift again. And here's the material that's going to go straight back in the bin. It's got my food scraps and worms in there. And so it gives me some areas to work with. And I just will continue to go through all these layers and look for stray worms. Yep. There will be quite a few of them. And I presume this is one benefit of having a plastic tote, plastic bin without cardboard. You don't run into this problem too often. I'm about done picking out all my worms out of the cardboard here, but don't let these worms fool you. Just when you think you're at the bottom of the barrel, quite literally, you will find another few hundred of worms just casually hanging out, hiding out. Oof, like this big pile here. I didn't put them in there, I didn't tell them to go hide in there. They just find one little hole, and then they just go ahead and have a party in there. If you ever stumble upon your bin and all things being the same, no condition changes, and you don't see any of your worms, don't just assume that they've all have died and they've all escaped and left you. If you're working with any type of cardboard, do make sure that you look in every crack and crevice, because you will literally find hundreds of worms hiding out. Well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is I am done sifting through my top bin and looking for all the worms that were stuck in the cardboard. I have all my cardboard newspaper in here. I'm gonna let this dry for a couple of days, as I'm sure that there are still quite a bit of worms in here, like this baby worm. As this dries up, more worms are gonna escape from the crevices, and then I can go ahead and find them before I toss this. I recovered quite a bit of worms, and looking at my second bin under it, since all the worms, a lot of worms escaped under the cardboard, they made it to the second layer, and they did the exact same thing on the sides of my second layer. They escaped towards the side of it and are all hiding under the cardboard, under the newspaper. So they're doing the same thing. So it looks like I will be here working on the second bin also. But the good news is I did see a few cocoons in here. So they are happy, they are reproducing. They're just not where I want them to be. So I will spend some more time doing the exact same thing. Picking out worms and watching them exactly escape to my third layer. So I got a little bit of a mess on my hands, but I'll make it through. I'm still working on my bin. I came to the very bottom layer of my bin. It is also constructed out of wood with a mesh metal bottom placed on a solid wood piece. I had just prepped this bottom bin with fresh cardboard and newspaper, but the same thing happened. All the worms were escaping to the side of it. What I am doing is I am in the process of lifting this metal, and I am going to secure this solid wood piece at the bottom of it. And so I have a solid base. Who doesn't like a solid base? But in any event, if the top two layers, my worms are trying to escape again, at least they will not be able to escape all the way towards the bottom onto the solid wood piece, like I did find quite a bit of worms. So I guess you live and you learn. I made this bin with my son a little while ago. I really like the feel and the look of wood. I'm quite against plastic, so I'm going to make a few changes to this one, and I'll be back to show you the result. So I was able to take the metal covering off the bottom of my bin, and I have my very most favorite tool here, my staple gun. Every woman should have a staple gun. There's no macho hammering required. You just aim, shoot, and that's that. I finished putting on the solid base on my worm bin. Let's check it out. Alright. That looks good. This will bring down my need for cardboard and newspaper, and it will not allow my worms to escape as easily. Okay, I like it. I might make some more changes to the second layer of my bin. Perhaps I will take the bottom of the second layer of my bin and somehow attach it to here and just keep it one solid bin. I don't know yet. Let me see what I can come up with. I have decided I am going to make this a solid bin. I'm going to take the metal fencing off the bottom of my second layer, and I'm somehow going to find a way to attach these together, give my bin a little bit of a deeper area to hide out in, And yeah, I think they'll like it. Alright, I found a way to connect both layers of my bin together. So now I have one deeper wooden bin. I did, again, start with a nice layer of cardboard and a nice layer of newspaper. And you can ask me, well, why did you do that? You know, you just went through all this trouble to go find your worms. They were hiding in the cardboard. Well, I mean, because it's what my worms are used to. It's what makes them happy. I'm not here to take their fun away. I want them to work for me. And so if conditions become unfavorable, or for some reason they just want to be antisocial, hide out and multiply, they can go in the cracks and corners, nooks and crannies. But I'm comforted to know that they cannot escape. They can run, they can hide, they can go move under the cardboard, but they have no place to go. So no matter what they do, they're stuck at home. They can't run away from home. So anyway, so again, this is my start, and I have this material that I sifted through that is going to go back in my bin. This was in my bottom layer. It is just the cardboard that's kind of been cured in chicken manure with a few food scraps. It wasn't quite ready for me to migrate my worms in. However, they don't seem to mind it because that is the layer that they ultimately migrated to, and I see a lot of moving worms, so if they're happy and healthy in that, I'm gonna go ahead and put this material in my worm bin also. And then I have the material that I have sifted, but not quite all the way sifted through, so a lot of that is going to go back in my bin also. So here I go, putting all this stuff back in my bin. This is going to be the moment of truth. What I've done is I placed the somewhat composted material on the right side of my bin with the food scraps that were left in there. And then on the left side of my bin, I put the stuff that was not quite ready for me to add my worms to, but is pushed all the way over to the side. So my worms have a choice to go in this more drier environment, not quite as composted material, or go into the material that they were living at. This is the moment of truth indeed. Here are all my worms. I feel much better about my setup. I feel much better about my worm population now that I've found them all back from inside of the cardboard. I feel like I'm done scolding the teenagers for hiding out behind the bleachers and making out. I've got them all back home. I've got them all in one bin. A deeper system now. I've attached 2 layers together. They're not going to be able to escape quite as much, so we'll see how it goes.